Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Auman Landscape YouTube. So, client wanted to add a retaining wall now. They had an old sandstone wall here, which looked okay. We were planning on restacking it. In case you haven't seen our channel before, I just had some stuff burn off my face, some skin damage, precancerous lesions. So those were frozen off with liquid nitrogen. No crystal meth. Two things I don't do, meth and math. So they've got this laid out here. And you can learn about how to install these kind of walls, any kind of retaining wall for that matter, at the Hardscape Academy, www.thehardscapeacademy.com, thehardscapeacademy.com, all one word. We have a 2.5-hour training course talking about how to install retaining walls, building on open graded base systems, which is this clean stone here you see. They call it clean because there's no fines in it. No fines, no dust. Now it's got dust, of course, but I'm talking to where it's compactable dust, that kind of deal. So we got our geofabrics down. The guys know our system, which is so cool. We get this excavated out. We put it down a woven geotextile fabric. Then we put down 6 inches of whatever base we're using, and then we screed out an inch of this number 9 clean stone here, which is so wonderful to work with. And then we screed that out level, like we do with our pavers with the screed poles. Pull the poles out, and then we got a uniform monolithic base to lay on, as opposed to leveling block to block to block. Now you may need to trim and shift and do all that kind of stuff a little bit, whatever, that's to be expected, but it makes it faster, way faster, so much faster. How much faster, Britt?
So much faster.
So much faster than leveling block to block to block. It's madness. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do it this way. Again, thehardscapeacademy.com, 2.5-hour training course talking about setting elevations and grade, why embedment is important, all that kind of stuff. Backfill, I mean, it's all critical to have that clean stone to backfill. So we're gonna, when the guys finish the grade here, they'll wrap this fabric over this to protect it a little bit, but then we're gonna backfill at least half this first block, if not the entire block. And you want that embedment, because like my foot standing on top of this dirt pile here, it'll slide off, right? But if my foot were buried in the hill, it's gonna be harder for it to slip downhill. Now, the steeper the hill, the more embedment you need. When you get into situations like that, you need to talk to a design professional, engineer, or something to do that. That long piece, we actually took some leftover steps we had, ripped them in half and split them, which is pretty cool. We're gonna backfill again with all this clean stone, so no water sits back behind the wall. When you use this clean stone on a retaining wall, you want to, or any of your footings like this, it's called a leveling pad, technically by NCMA standards, National Concrete Masonry Associations. There's some great design build specs on these things too at nationalconcretemasonryassociation.org. Go there, check that out. But the one thing you want to be sure to do, and a wall this small, I'm not worried about having tile in there, I'm not worried about pipe, but what we do want is this weeper like this. We want to have an area for all this water that gets in here, if it potentially would, to weep out of the lowest point of this excavation here. So, because you got kind of a French drain here without having to pipe. So we want to make sure that water can run out and slip out. Now, if you got so much water coming out of this thing, you're worried about erosion and stuff like that, you've got other issues you need to address, like tons of drainage and all those kind of things. We're going to sculpt this so that we shift as much of it around the side there as possible. It's going to be a little challenging, but on a small wall like this, we're not going to really sweat that a whole lot. But we're going to do that, and then also for the hardscape vlog here on this project, which is coming along beautifully, swimmingly some might say, this is laid out really nicely, and the client's just super happy with how this gets laid out, and how it's laid out. It's just a really wonderful space beneath this old sugar maple here. Another thing too, on jobs like this, I need to get them, we've got a great working relationship with this client, so I'm not as worried about it as a client we've never worked with before or whatever. But I need to get them a change order form immediately, as this was approved this morning from a conversation last night. You all know how those go, right? So we're gonna get them a change order form. You can buy the form at thehardscapeacademy.com, right, Britt? Okay. And but it's just a simple change order form, and you have your client sign it, agree to it mid-project. Some guys bill immediately on the spot for their change orders. That's also really cool.
At the very least, you need to make sure that you have it in writing, a text or an email.
Thank you.
Confirming that they want this. So we have it via text. Working on site or somewhere this fell, and so we weren't in the office to handle this kind of stuff, but we did receive a text from the client to approve this portion of the project.
Yeah, at a certain price or a price range even. And you want to make sure you have those conversations up front. Don't bill at the end with nobody knowing. At least give a price range. You have to do that, otherwise it's going to be real awkward when you send a bill for $4,000 or $3,000 or whatever it's going to be. And they're like, well, I didn't know it was gonna be that much. I wouldn't have had you do it if I knew it was gonna be that much.
But you can't have this conversation on the phone. You need to I'm going to send you a text.
It has to be in writing in some manner or another.
Even if you have the conversation on the phone, though, you have the conversation. I'm going to send you a text to just confirm everything that we've talked about tonight.
And I just need a response back, and that'll be not legally binding, but it's morally binding of not a, well, I thought you said that, or I thought you said that. And then they, that's how those things go. And you can ruin a good relationship really quickly, right? Or you can take it in the shorts financially if you're like, all right, well, I guess I'll do it for $1,500 because we didn't communicate well on that, and that's what you thought it was going to cost, and so now I'm screwed.
And if you have the forms, you can have carbon copies, and they can be in your guys' trucks, or your foreman can have them. Anytime this kind of stuff, even if it's like a downgrade or whatever, just make sure you know all
that's another great point. Even if it's a reduction of the project, you need to have that in writing. That's a great point. It doesn't have to be always increases.
We put in less steps here.
Yeah, we did. We put in less steps, but now we're consuming them to make our block, which isn't too labor intensive. Should be okay labor-wise. So you just have to keep really good records of all that stuff, so it's fair for everyone in the end. Yep. Britt and I have been in. We're here in Fairfield County, beautiful Fairfield County, Ohio. Right now, we were working in Cincinnati, Ohio. Britt and I on a commercial stormwater project, starting a project where we're rehabbing 5 catch basins before a paving project. So Britt and I are going to be doing that all week. The guys are killing this stuff. Travis is getting to be quite the wall builder. He's really doing a nice job. You want to make sure that wall is sitting flat, front to back, side to side. And then if all our walls here are getting built with no batter. The batter is, again, you'll learn all this at the hardscapeacademy.com on our 2.5-hour training course. Okay. Critical when I don't plug the Hardscape Academy, and then I do. Cut
That Grass, Make That Cash.
Why? That's a great book by our friend Paul Jameson. Cut That Grass, Make That Cash. A great book on lawn care and business in general of what Paul Jameson with the Green Industry Podcast has to say about building a better lawn care business. But we have our own podcast called the Kid Contractor Podcast. It's really good. We love it. It ranks in the top 100 on the entrepreneur list, which is entrepreneur business podcast list. We're really very proud of that. Anyhow, batter is the kickback or setback to each wall stone. So if that wall set back 3/8 of an inch, each succeeding course, that's called the batter, the setback. Miss Britt's going to make an example that I was too lazy to do myself. So that right there, that's your batter. So this setback, each block to block, that's called batter. And what it is, it's the equivalent of the wall pushing into the hill versus, standing like this, which this wall's no taller, we can go vertical. But if you get beyond that vertical to where it's leaning out, then things get exponential and bad. That drainage work is what will really save your bacon on these things. So, okay, with that said, day 10,000 on this project. We've had a lot of weather delays. As soon as it gets any rain at all, a client doesn't want us to work here, which is fine. But we've had to pull off a good bit because of weather. But right now it's drier, as my Oklahoma cousins say, drier than a popcorn fart. So with that said, Britt and I are going to go finish mobilizing again for a second day of work down in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is a beautiful property we're working on here. It's really cool. Britt and I we're gonna load up, take a few more things. When I get my CDLs, because our stormwater guy that normally runs this stuff has the CDLs, things are changing now to where we're gonna run our big International 4300 truck, pulling the excavator down with the support truck, which would be a pickup truck for running errands or kind of commuting back and forth too, so we can leave the big stuff down there. But we've got the Toro mud buggy going down, the Bartell reversible plate compactor. We love this thing. You'll see this in a future video. We got to set this big drain top here in. We got to set this thing as a replacement. So Britt and I haven't even been home yet. We've been going pushing 12 hours now. So let's get this on here and go home. Buy it from the hardscapeacademy.com. I'm gonna set this thing down in here if I'm strong enough. Oh, that's our head. It's got to hold an 18-wheeler or me. So look at this, contractor gear 101.
Contractor organization.
This is kid contractor status here, which generally we have other trucks outfitted for this stuff, but Britt and I are doing it, so we're moving stuff as we need to. All right, let's get home. Make sure that, here halfway through the year that your sales are where you think they need to be, what you need to do to get them where they need to be. And you can also kind of figure out, hopefully you're figuring out and watching, okay, well, I've made this much money so far this year. Where is it? And I am going to do likely this much more business this year at this profit margin, theoretically. Where's that money going?
And we obviously want to be thinking about our off season, where we're at in the off season.